Welcome to the Property Management Show, brought to you by 4.5 Marketing Agency for Property Managers.
Today's topic is artificial intelligence and how to properly use it in the world of property management. Our guest is going to go over some key concepts of AI so that property managers can make better technology decisions for their business.
That guest is none other than Faizan Khan, who is the CEO and founder of LetHub, an AI platform for property management companies. Happy listening. Faison, thank you so much for joining us on the podcast today. Since it's your first time ever on the show, can you please let our audience know who you are and what's your relationship to the property management industry?
Yeah, thanks for giving me the time and the opportunity to share what we're doing. So I'm the founder at LetHub. LetHub is an AI communications platform for rental property managers that sort of automates the communication between renters and landlords and property managers, so nobody has to pick up the phone and pre-qualify people and book tours. So that's all handled by River, which is our AI, and it sort of is in a constant learning phase where it improves with time, just like humans.
Awesome. So to start off, could you give us just define AI, define artificial intelligence for us common folk?
Sure. So I think to put it in a nutshell, because it's a very complex field, and I guess the media portrays it in a very different way. But anything that sort of automates any kind of task that humans perform in a more faster way or better way, that is sort of can be considered in technology as artificial intelligence.
So if we're talking about different stages of AI, what are some of those?
So again, it's very complex. There are 7 different stages of AI, but we can sort of, to put it in simple terms, we can sort of classify into 3 stages. So there's narrow AI, and then there's general AI, and then there's super intelligent. Narrow AI is something that that has very limited sort of memory, and that can sort of outperform humans in some robotic tasks. And then general AI. General AI, I would say, is just your general intelligence AI, which is not really good these days. We're not there yet. It's something that understands a lot of the things that we do in everyday life. So a domain-specific AI would only understand a few things that they're really good with. A general AI just understands everything that because it learns really fast. And then the last one is super intelligence AI. That's the AI that produces other AIs. A bot that can make other bots.
That's going to take over the world.
If you've seen the Avenger movies, that's what we're talking about, right?
Yeah.
So,
and so given that general AI is where we are right now, and even then we haven't even mastered it, right? What kinds of applications of AI can we see in the property management industry?
Yeah, no, that's a good question. Any task that is very in a way you can automate it, that can definitely be done by AI, because in any format or any way, if you can train a machine to do a certain job, then that is you can implement AI in that piece. So an example is if you don't really want to communicate with renters, and there's a pattern to you communicating with renters, that pattern can be picked up by the AI, and then sort of it mimics what you would do. It's as simple as a bot, or it could be a smarter bot that could respond to inquiries, or just share information that you would. There's different levels to it. Another example would be, you can just tell people to do a few steps, like complete a few steps, and then and that's like a simple bot. But then you can also build something conversational that actually understands how you type or how you chat with people. It learns your style. So that's one. Yeah. So it's like when it learns your style.
So if I'm a slow typer, it can mimic like that slow typing.
Or if you say like every 5 minutes, like me, it's going to probably put a bunch of likes and a bunch of hellas in there somewhere and smiley faces. If you're a super smiley face writer, a concept like this is really intriguing to me when I think of not necessarily like the day-to-day operations of a property management business, but if you can have a BDM or a salesperson not having to write their own emails to follow up with a person, like how cool is that? Or if you have a chat box on your website that can act like it is a salesperson, but be AI, that would obviously save time, but give you more time to spend on other things like face-to-face things. I just think.
Yeah. And I think that's where what we're trying to do as well, right? So we're trying to cut that time that is just like, if you look at an average property management shop, they get hundreds of emails, right? So if they have 10 vacant properties, on average, they get 10 to 15 emails a day. So their leasing team has 150, 300 emails inbox. And then if they spend a couple of minutes for every email, they're spending like hours. Once someone has found the place, and then now they've moved in, I think a lot of companies are doing it, but AI can also sort of be used in terms of lowering your bills, right? Your utility bills, whether it's your internet bills or any kind of other things that you think are too high. AI can sort of only switch it on and off when you're using it, just by learning by your habits.
When we talk about AI for property management, the only thing that comes to mind in terms of application would be the chatbot, right? Because we've seen a surge of all these chatbots in the industry. And so you're saying that that's definitely a low-hanging fruit, but then there are other applications of AI within the industry.
Yeah. I think in terms of chatbots, specifically talking, there's different types. We're talking about rule-based chatbots that are just, you feed them a bunch of information. It's specifically just like a form, but in a chat format. And then there's bunch of hybrid, I guess, I don't know, hybrid is the right word, but that's the word comes to my mind. There's a few hybrid bots that use both like a combination of a rule-based approach and some pre-made questions that can be answered. So I can go inside and feed some questions into the bot that I think talking about renters would ask. And then there's the true AI approach, which is where we have been trying to do with River, our AI as well, is whenever there's an opportunity to learn about what people are asking, it will be taught to the AI in a very supervised fashion. So in simple terms, what that means is, if I say, hey, are pets allowed, or something like that, and then there's a response is no, pets are not allowed in this apartment building or whatever. But then as a human, I'll just say, hey, will a small dog be okay? Just to see if it would respond. Then the second question is based on the first question, which is called context building. So you as a human would understand that, but a dumb bot or a rule-based bot would not understand that. But a bot that is built on AI would understand that the previous question or the previous statement is sort of based on the the next statement is based on the previous question. It will learn with time. It would understand the difference between a discount and an offer. It would understand any kind of marketing material that you're trying to push so that it can push to people. It would understand differences between different synonyms. Sometimes, when you type something wrong on Google, it says, "Do you mean?"
Right.
When it says, the reason it says that, because it knows that this type of mistake is done by other humans as well. And those humans clicked on this particular link. They meant this. It's the more renters interact with it, the better it gets, the better it will respond, and I guess improve with time.
So basically there are like two layers that you're talking about, right? The first is like you can automate like the question and answer portion of communication with renters. So if they ask legit the question, are pets allowed in this address? A simple bot, you can automate the answer to, if it anywhere says pets allowed, then the bot knows to say no pets allowed, or like, yes, pets are allowed up to like this way.
It's almost like a script.
Yeah. But the second layer is if you, so that automation is like the base layer, right? And then the second layer is if you have like a machine learning component. If I were to ask the question as like, I have a pit bull, is that cool? Then, an automated like question and answer technology wouldn't understand I'm asking about a pet because I never said pet. Didn't say pit bull, but a machine learning type of technology would understand like, oh, the context is like this person has a pet and wants to know if pets are allowed. So, but like if you're saying that it's like learning, right, from a set of data, like who's in charge of pulling that data? Does it just like, do you have to feed it the data, or do you like just put it in your software and it like just learns everything you've ever sent in the past 5 years? Like, how does it work?
There's two ways. There's supervised learning, and then there's sort of self-learning. Just like how Tesla is self-learning, right? So if you're driving a Tesla, if you crash it, it's going to learn that the next time I'm not going to do that. So that's self-learning. Supervised learning is I feed the data to the AI, and I would either crowdsource it or my team would do it. We will tell the AI that, yes, this is a particular object or a question, or it means this. Let's say if you look at a guitar and a ukulele, and then the AI cannot understand what's a guitar, because it pretty much looks the same. It's the size that's different. So the AI would ask me, hey, is this a guitar? Yes or no? I'll say no. Is this a guitar? Yes. So when I say yes, it will associate that yes with that particular instrument, if that makes sense.
It's interesting, the self-learning versus what did you call it? Controlled learning? Supervised learning. I feel like, especially in our industry, I mean, it sounds like supervised learning, at least right now, is the way to go, especially for property management, because like when it comes to fair housing and things like that, I feel like if you have self-learning AI, it could just learn to give the answers that the people want, or I don't know, it could go rogue, anything like that. So I feel like the self-learning would be super beneficial. It's like, is this a pet? Is this a dog that's allowed? Like, I really like that.
And I think to your point about pre-qualification, it has to be very customized, and then like we could have built it in a way where we just don't let you put the questions in. We'll let the AI ask the questions. But the problem with that is if it's self-learning, then it will only ask questions that it thinks is helps you make decision better, and then it will disqualify people who it thinks did not qualify in the past, if you know what I mean. Like it will recognize patterns that you only like a certain kind of people, and then the human rights problem comes in, and it will only qualify people who are within that criteria.
Right.
And that is scary, and that's why it needs to be a bit like there's a human element involved where you set your criteria first. You want to ask these questions, you just tell the AI to ask these questions, and don't let the AI ask questions, because it will ask some strange questions.
Yeah.
Especially when we're talking about law, right? Especially for fair housing. Fair housing regulation, fair housing law, it's created by humans, right? And so a lot of times there are sections there that's kind of up to interpretation. And as human beings, there's this concept of following the spirit of the law. And it's kind of scary to trust a machine to like know what the spirit of the law is. I'm not sure if we're there yet. And so I feel like it does make sense that for the property management industry, a company that has AI in their company needs to make sure that the owners or the operators have the holding the reins of the machine.
For sure.
And so wouldn't you say that, like, on one hand, you are like automating things to make things better, but the fact that someone always has to have their hands on the rein is still work. So like, doesn't it just cancel out? Because now this person who used to be able to just answer the questions of the renters and everything now has to learn a new way of working, which is like figuring out how to, you know, interact with this machine and make sure it's not saying weird stuff to the renters.
I don't know about other ones, but ours is very simple. Like, you just set it and you forget it. There's no involvement of the staff to teach anything to it. It's already sort of trained. So if there's any involvement of training an AI, I would advise people not to have a deep look into it, because it's not AI then.
So it's not, if we're talking about AI and supervised learning, it wouldn't be like, if we're talking about a property management company, it's not like the property manager or the leasing agent or whoever is supervising that learning. They're creating, they might provide the list of initial criteria, but the company that is the AI is the one that's going to be controlling and supervising it a little bit more. I think that's kind of what you're referring to, Marie, right?
Yeah,
essentially, yes. Because if you have to do the job, then why are you, like, you're essentially crowdsourced. Like, it doesn't make sense for a property company to train it. It has to come like pre-trained.
So you need to partner with a company that understands the property management industry that can help continue, can pre-train their machine, so you don't have to worry about all of it. I mean, that makes sense.
If a property management company were to use AI for the process of selecting tenants, like how does it work? Like, when does the gut feel come? Like, does it just pre-screen and like give the human being a short list of like the pre-qualified renters, and then the property management company team members just never see like the rest of the applications? Like, at what point does the human element come back in? Because right now, in a traditional property management company, it's all like the human connection. And so when you insert the machine, like, how much of it can be taken over by a machine, and how much of it stays through the human being?
Right. I think what the AI should do is speed up the process. Any AI that can speed up the process of questions, booking a tour, and get people to the door, that's what it should be doing. The goal is to take in as many leads as you can, pre-qualify them, and just get the best people to the door. Now, the ones who get disqualified, the ones that you were talking about, they never get to see them. I think they should get to see them, because a person who has a certain credit score or a certain budget, or if they like pets and they couldn't find pets, those people should then be kept in your database, wherever, and then be contacted whenever something matching their criteria is sort of available. And I think that's the part where it's going to be easily automated without AI. We don't even need AI for that. If you have a database and if you have a matching criteria, and if you have some sort of tech person in your team, ask them to build a matching platform and send out an email saying, hey, we have a new apartment available. It has pets and it's within your budget. Please book a tour. And it should be just, yeah. So again, we're not taking over anything. We're speeding up the process. And a lot of these leads that are after hours or on weekends, and when you don't have staff or you have to hire a virtual assistant, AI can definitely do that.
What about it's obviously depending on your communication style, or maybe the generation you're part of, or maybe the technology itself. It's like, I don't like talking to people on the phone. I definitely just want to like submit a form or fill out whatever. But then you have this frustration with there are frustrations with chat boxes or automated phone systems, things like that probably give AI a bad rep. Maybe there are just other platforms out there that use the system, and like you talked about earlier, they don't understand the questions that you're asking. And I feel like that's a lot of people's experience with these types of automations. So how do we move on from that type of perception to actually get people excited about these types of tools?
Yeah, I think in the next 5 years, you'll see a lot of improvement in this sector. The unfortunate thing about AI is that not just in property management, but in other sort of industries, AI has been there's no true, there was never an actual true AI built by startups. I shouldn't say never, but very unlikely, I should say. A lot of it is just used it's like tech jargon or some kind of jargon to get customers excited, and then once they signed up, they were disappointed, and that is what's caused it's sort of harming companies who are actually doing who is actually just working on making that thing happen.
Yeah.
And that's just unfortunate.
So it's misrepresentation in the past a little bit, as a marketing tactic, probably oh, we have AI, but really they're just calling it AI to make it seem more appealing.
Yeah, because AI is it's so vast that you can implement a simple step in your code, in your tech stack, and you can call it AI. Because there's some small element of AI that is involved. I can give you an example. If I send you, if I type a sentence saying that, saying, hey, can I have a pizza with fries? I can train any kind, a good coder or a decent coder can train the engine or any engine to understand that someone's asking for a pizza with fries. And then they can call it AI. But what happens is a smart AI would be, do you want pizza with fries as a side or fries on top?
Right.
So now it comes a part where you're like, okay, now this is the smart part. Now we're talking, right? Same thing with any other thing. I was just trying to give you an example that would make sense. But yeah,
that totally makes sense, because it's going back to what you said about making it a conversation instead of just an auto response, because a lot of these systems do kind of feel like a copied and pasted response that might not really be the answer I was looking for or the guidance I was looking for. So to have it provide a response actually in context.
Yeah, very few AIs have actually passed the Turing test. What that means is that you'll be unable to tell if it's a human or a bot. We're not there yet.
Yeah.
So it's always going to feel a bit robotic, but, and I'll be honest with you, even River feels robotic, but it does the job, right? As long as it does the job and answers those questions, it's good enough for the property management industry.
Yeah, it's an exciting time for the property management industry because there is a lot of attention now in this industry that used to be kind of like set aside, right? And so now there's like new technologies coming in, you know, and AI is here. It's not there yet, but it is starting. And so to your point, right? Like because AI is so vast, it's hard to wrap your head around it, which is why we have you here to kind of like help our listeners and help us understand like, you know, what does make sense in terms of AI for the industry and kind of like you mentioned, it's like a life cycle. There's infancy and then preteen, you know, adolescence, so on and so forth. And like you said, you can call a thing AI, but it can be like the embryo type of AI versus, you know, preteen AI. And that I feel like the lesson here is that if a property management company owner is looking for some kind of AI solution for the company to really do their research, right? And make sure they know what they're going to get and that it actually matches the need for the company.
Yeah. And understand that it's not going to be perfect or 100%.
Yeah, I mean, and at the end of the day, if it does the job, whether if it's AI or not AI, if it's saving your team 4 hours a day, and if it's driving those vacancy rates down, you should definitely look into it rather than staying away. Like, try it, test it, see if it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't. But there's different ways around making it work. And I think this is going to be the new wave of technology in property management.
You know, maintenance is another big area in property management that could benefit from implementation of AI, but you cannot give it solely to AI, very similar to the leasing process, right? There's still a human element, because I can totally see a situation where if it's all text-based and the tenant goes like, hey, my heater's broken, and the AI is like, oh, heater's broken, let me send, you know, the HVAC person or the heating person, and then turns out it's the water heater. Like, then you just wasted resources. But a photo would be like, you know, but a more intelligent kind of system would ask follow-up questions like, hey, is it your heating, like air, or is it your water? And actually
it could be and you know, all that information needs to be learned by the AI, and it's gonna take at least 1 million to 2 million data points. What it means is that you need to train it to understand those things, and 2 million data points it takes a lot of time. I think that's
it's a lot.
It's gonna take some time for someone to do it. Maybe we'll be the ones to do it. I don't know. But if it's a high demand and people keep emailing me, then I'm happy to dedicate a team member to work on that one. Yeah.
Well, Faison, do you have any other like final pieces of information that you think are really important to mention that you want to share with our viewers, listeners?
Just my general advice to people is that don't be scared of AI. I think the media is sort of overplayed it. There's multiple different applications of AI, and it's not taking over anything. It's just at the end of the day, it's helping you be better at your business. It's a simple tool that works like a human would do, and it learns like a human does. So yeah, I would recommend people, you know, reading more about it and what sort of companies are out there. They're trying to help you be more efficient and be more profitable, right? At the end of the day, everyone wants to be profitable and keep their owners happy, and there's tons of smarter ways to do that rather than just like doing it manually. Yeah, sorry, that's sort of my message to people.
Cool. Well, thank you so much for joining us. Marie, did you have anything else that you wanted to say?
No, I'm good. I think I've asked all my questions.
Cool.
Yeah, no, all right, thank you. Thanks for your time. I appreciate you taking the time and amazing questions. I love talking about AI. So yeah, happy to share more information in the future if you guys want. And
cool.
Yeah.